who is in a better than usual situation this week at quarterback?
Well, I want to bring up Baker Mayfield because I have him QB3 because he's one of the 3 best quarterbacks in fantasy football. He's got a great matchup. And I've had Baker in my top 12 the last couple of weeks. But, I mean, listen, he's been awesome. If you put those numbers on Patrick Mahomes' stat line, are you sitting him? Hell no. He's top 3. Jared Goff and Sam Darnold, who are both playing against each other this week, 8-9 right now at quarterback. That should be a high-scoring game. I think the total opened around 49.5 or 50, somewhere in that ballpark. Should be a high-scoring game. I know the Vikings defense is very good. Sometimes it doesn't matter. I like both quarterbacks as starters this week.
Who do we not like as much?
Mahomes, and I'm always so glowing about Patrick Mahomes in fantasy, but I have him at QB 14. Not a great matchup against the Niners. I've got Kyler Murray at QB 15. Now, a lot of people were wondering why I didn't like him last week, and he didn't have a good game. I didn't love the matchup. And the Chargers defense, the Chargers are a good team. And I know they just gave up 20 to Bo Nix. I understand that. That was last week. And I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is playing. And then Lindsay talked about Fields and Wilson. I mean, I have Fields right now at 17, and I don't know who's starting. I know Tom Pelissero is saying that it's Russell, but I'm going to wait. I mean, what's today? Wednesday? I'm going to wait. And then once it's announced by Tomlin, then I'll make the move. But Justin Fields is down to 17. And
what if it's Russell? Where does he?
If it's Russell, it's probably going to be lower because the Jets defense is really good against the pass. Mm-hmm. And Fields actually gives you that running component that Russell does not.
How about running backs? Who's rising?
Tank. I don't think Travis Etienne's playing this week in London. Yeah. And so, listen, no inside information. It's just my thought.
Right.
So I have Bigsby at 17 this week. Remember what Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce did to the Patriots last week. Chase Brown, and I hate to say this because I was on the Moss bandwagon and now I'm, falling off of it hard. Chase Brown at 21. So he's an RB2 against the G-Men. Against the Browns this week. And then he had a big game against the G-Men last week. And then Nick Chubb, who enters at RB29 right now. So more of a flex starter.
Okay.
And that's subject to change, obviously, depending on what we hear over the next few days.
All right. Who's falling? Who's down in the rankings at running?
I've got Josh Jacobs at RB23 this week. And Jacobs, when I was wrong about Jacobs, I'll say I'm wrong. I liked him. I thought he'd be a borderline RB1. He has not been that. The numbers are not great. His yards per carry are not great. And the Texans are really good against the run. So I don't love Jacobs. He's an RB2 flex this week for me. Najee Harris. Lindsay talked about trading him yesterday. I feel the same way. I know the Jets are not great against the run. I don't love Harris this week. I've got him at RB27, so he's a flex starter. And then, obviously, if I'm moving Chase Brown up, I'm moving Zach Moss down.
Wide receivers, who's up?
Scary Terry McLaurin. Wide receiver 10.
10!
Folks, the last 3 weeks, he's been nails, and he's got the Carolina Panthers this week, who are not good. Josh Downs is up to wide receiver 19. Now, I might change that because I don't know who's starting yet. We talked to Anthony, and he said that the plan is for him to start.
Yep.
He didn't definitively say, I'm starting.
Yeah.
So right now, Josh Downs is at 19. And Jameson Williams, who Lindsay and I both liked last week against my stupid Cowboys, Jameson Williams is now wide receiver 22 in what should be a high-scoring game against the Vikings, who are not good against wide receivers.
Who's falling?
Brandon Ayuk, who's had like one good game this year, and Chiefs.
What's happening?
The Chiefs are good against the perimeter. They have been, at least. So Brandon Ayuk's at 27. George Pickens is at 37, and I might drop him even more. But, when he goes against Sauce Gardner and the Jets, it's not a recipe for fantasy success. And then Calvin Ridley. Now, you could make the argument that the squeaky wheel gets the grease because he was squeaking last week. He had a few F-bombs that he threw out in the post game because he's not getting any targets. But it's Buffalo, so it's not a great matchup, and it's on the road, and he's not getting any burn.
How about tight ends? Is there any good news for us here?
I mean, obviously, Evan Ingram's moved up because he had a massive game last week. Lawrence continues to love to throw to his tight ends. He's at tight end 6. I moved Mark Andrews up to tight end 7. I'm hoping I'm not chasing the points from the last 2 weeks. That should be a high-scoring game against Tampa. And then Zach Ertz at 12 against the Carolina Panthers, who is a nice streamer this week if you need help at tight end. The 3 fallers, Linz.
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft at 13, still a startable asset, but not a great matchup. Pat Freiermuth, still a startable asset, but not a great matchup against the Jets. Although if Russell plays, maybe that boots him up a little bit. And then Colby Parkinson, whose last game was his best game of the season.
Yeah.
I just don't love him against the Raiders this week.